When a marriage becomes a battlefield of silence, of wars, of subtle punishment, both partners lose. Good day, everyone, and welcome to Elevate with Adetunji Aribasoye. Thank you for being a part of this process with us, and God bless you. Today, we have decided to quickly delve into something so common in our marriages, something I've discovered during my own time of also studying with other couples, my husbands, wives, even people in relationships, and I've discovered that it's almost like a trend, and there's a need for us to quickly address this and see how we can overcome this in our marriages, especially for those of us that really desire a happy home. So I'll call it manipulative behaviors and the resistance that this behavior provoke. Yes, because there is always a time in our marriages where the other person, our spouse, the husband, the wife, tries to introduce some form of control mechanisms, against the other person. And the natural response from the other person is often resistance. So I'll call it manipulative behavior and what they provoke. It begins when a spouse, when the husband or the wife, begins to use emotional tools. Emotional tools in marriage. Well, emotional tools like sex, like food, like emotional withdrawal and the like in marriage. And truth is, this also, there's a way it provokes certain reaction from the other person. Understanding behavioral resistance in marriage. Behavioral resistance occurs when a spouse, the husband, the wife, starts rejecting or withdrawing from what once united them together, like turning down intimacy, sex in marriage, ignoring food and ignoring conversations or avoiding conversation and all of that. When the other person begins to build emotional walls, emotional resistance in reaction to feeling manipulated or misunderstood. And of course, another thing is there is always a way that the other person in a way tries to manipulatively control the other person in reaction to something, a misunderstanding. So why do resistance happen in marriage? Number one is perceived control or manipulation. So when one spouse senses the other person is using a tool like sex, silence, food, and all of that to manipulate or punish them, then there will always be resistance. The number two is unresolved conflict, accumulated grievances that have not been properly addressed, and loss of respect or emotional safety. We tend to react to any of these. And taking this further, the common weapons that spouses use and what this means to our marriages. I'm just trying to be more practical with I've seen and also experienced in a way. Number one, sex. When the other person told or use sex as a reward, and the effect of the marriage is that it creates resentment or emotional disconnection. Truth is, there is no marriage. I've not seen a marriage anywhere intimacy is not consistent, when intimacy is not seen as respect for each other and love for each other. One of the ways we communicate love in marriage is also having intimacy with the other person. So the moment this is now used as a control mechanism, then the other person begins to withdraw. The other person also feels like he's being manipulated. The other person now begins to react to such, and what that does is it creates resentment and emotional disconnection. Another thing that spouses use and their effect is food. Some of us like food, and I mean good food. Denying meals or cooking out of obligation. Either you are not cooking or you're just cooking because you have to cook as a wife. I need to tell people that in over 12 years of my marriage, I've not seen one day, I can't remember one day that I refused to eat my food. The same food that I use my money to buy, am I okay? I eat my food, no matter what's in my house, I eat my food. But some people avoid food, while some, maybe wives, also refuse to prepare food. And what this one does is that it leads to uncared for. You feel like the person does not care for you, or you feel neglected. Even if you prepare the food and the other person refuses to eat, you still feel neglected. Number three is silence. tone warning, emotional shutdown, and avoiding communication. And this one, the effect on the marriage is that it breaks communication and builds suspicion. Begin to suspect the other person, especially when you're not talking. Number 4 is words. Our words against the other person in a way that hurt the other person. No, most times we get angry. There are sometimes you say something that are also misunderstood and misinterpreted and misquoted. That one is a separate thing entirely. But when you deliberately use some words against each other, it destroys esteem and trust. Another one I would say maybe for now is withdraw, and then begin to avoid touching each other, avoiding each other's presence and affection. It makes the partner feel unloved and of course alone or lonely. So these are some of these, I would say, weapon in quotes used in marriages, and they are not so good. Let's close with steps to sincerely deal with resistance for a successful marriage. Number 1 is what I call self-reflection and repentance. It could be difficult, actually. It could be difficult at the point you realize that your wife or your husband is already using any of these weapons against you. At the point of self-reflection, it's difficult for you actually to want reconciliation. And of course, on the part of the other person who seems to be using the weapons, also maybe a bit difficult to withdraw and return home to say, I am sorry. But the truth is, there's need for us to be humble enough to reflect and begin to ask few questions, and of course to have what we call deep reflection and ask yourself, am I using any of this behavior as a tool to manipulate my spouse? Ask such question and acknowledge and take responsibility for unhealthy patterns. It's not out of place to apologize genuinely when needed. The number 2 is to foster open and safe communication. Create a safe space. I've discussed this in one of our previous podcasts, and is to create space for honest conversations and without being judgmental. Use I feel statements instead of accusations. I feel like, for example, I feel hurt when we stop talking for days, and the other person also should accept this with open mind and understand that the other person is also genuinely communicating and apologizing. We must be willing to apologize to each other. It's very important. For most times too, when we use these weapons in our marriages, we need to be careful, like we discussed in one of our previous sessions. Assumption in marriage is very dangerous. Assuming that your husband should know what you are going through, you're assuming that your wife should know what you are going through without communicating it to the other person, and begin to now react to it, to say she should know, and I'm not telling her. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. So I think there's need for us to come to that point where we have genuine conversation and safe conversation. Another one is to replace manipulative behaviors with positive actions. Easier said than done, yeah, but at the same time it is doable. And that is if you are genuinely concerning, if you are genuinely communicating, and you genuinely want a successful, very, very successful marriage. Let's look at sex. For example, instead of withholding sex, then talk about emotional needs and intimacy. Instead of withdrawing from cooking or eating, I would say cook with joy or take breaks with love. You can as well eat out. Suggest to your wife or to your husband, can we just book a seat at our favorite place? It could be a local place where you eat some organic, food. You can as well just do that if you feel like you don't want to go through that stress of preparing the meal. You can as well suggest to say, can we eat out? And all the bills will be on you. Okay, so then instead of keeping silent, I would say express your feelings calmly and respectfully. Most times we keep quiet, and I'm sure I've done that in my own marriage. There have been times that I actually keep quiet. My keeping quiet does not really last for long, because I don't have that enough to do for my wife for too long. But there are times I have too many things in my head, and at the same time I'm feeling like something is not right at home. I just don't want to say anything, and it's not normal. It's not right. It's not good. And instead of keeping quiet, I would say express your feelings calmly, respectfully, in a way that the other person will understand every single word spoken. Instead of comparing your wife to others, I would say affirm their strengths regularly. Let them know how strong they are. Let them know how committed you are to their own vision and dreams. Let them know how strong they've been, how much of belief you have in their lives and processing. Collectively invest in emotional connection. Spend quality time intentionally together. Date nights, praying together, sharing goals together, sharing your plans, even your frustrations together. Just share, that's the way you do that, and you feel like your body is lifted. Invest in emotional connections and do it together as a family. Seek professional help when needed. Seek professional help when needed. Don't shy away from marriage counseling or spiritual mentorship when things get tough. Don't say, I don't want anybody to get to know about what is going on at home. I don't want someone to know. I don't want this one. You need help. seek help. Call someone that you believe have what it takes to help you. You know, the capacity to help, the experience to help, the wisdom to help, the maturity to help. Go ahead and talk to someone today and see the Lord bless your marriage. So as I close, the Bible says in Ephesians 4:26-27, the Bible says, be ye angry and sin not, let not the sun go down upon your wrath. There's nothing wrong in being angry, truly. The Bible says we shouldn't let it linger for too long. 1 Corinthians 7:3-5, the Bible says, let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. These scriptures, teach us the need for openness in our marriage, for mutual respect in our marriage, and honoring each other's needs without manipulation. Stop manipulating your spouse. Stop manipulating your husband. Stop manipulating your wives. Final thought: when a marriage becomes a battlefield of silence, of wars, of subtle punishment, both partners lose. Love is not manipulative at its core. Love is not manipulative. It's self-serving, it's understanding, and love is restorative. Breaking the cycle of resistance starts with self-awareness, humility, and a commitment to grow together and not fight each other. The Lord bless you. So do all of this and you seek further help, trusting God for a turnaround in your marriage. I also believe God for a turnaround in your marriage. May the Lord bless your marriage. May the Lord keep your marriage. May you find joy and success in your marriage. In Jesus' name. Thank you. See you again next time. We are possible.